Hello everyone and welcome to the shop. For today's video, I'm going to show you how to install vinyl plank flooring. We're going to be installing this vinyl plank flooring in a bathroom. Vinyl plank is a great choice for bathrooms and kitchens because it's resilient to scratches, staining, it's waterproof, and it's a lot more DIY friendly to install versus porcelain tile, which is a common choice for these areas. So before getting started, you may need to remove any existing flooring. However, the benefit of LVP is that it can go over most existing hard surface flooring, such as tile, which saves you a lot of time and money on your project. So no matter which room you're in, you're going to encounter some baseboard molding. There's two options to consider here before moving forward. Option one is to remove the baseboard prior to installing the floor. You can do this by scoring along the baseboard with a utility knife to cut the caulking and dry paint. Use a small pry bar and a flat taping knife to pull the baseboard away from the wall. Option two is to install the flooring up to the baseboard molding and then install a quarter round or shoe molding to hide the gap left for expansion around the room. So before getting started, the next thing we're going to do is figure out the layout for the best fit for your room. To figure out your layout, you will first choose the wall you want to run the planks lengthwise. Then take the measurement of the room's width and divide that by their measurement of the finished surface of the plank's width, not including the tongue. If you are left with an amount smaller than 2 inches, you will need to trim the first row that amount so you don't end up with a small sliver at the end of your installation. So since our room measures out at 90.5 inches wide and our planks are 9 inches wide, not including the tongue on the edge of the plank, we're going to divide 90.5 inches by 9, which gives us 10 full planks and 1/16 of a plank at the end of our install. So to figure out what 1/16 is, we're going to multiply 1/16 by 9, which is the width of the plank, and that will give us what our measurement is at the end. So here we're going to have a 9/16 cut at the end of our installation, which measures out to just under 1 inch. So since we don't want a small cut like that at the end of our install, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna cut the first row of planks in half, increasing the size of the final row of planks at the end of our installation. Since I won't be installing this LVP over a finished flooring like tile, we have some subfloor prep that we have to do before getting started. As you can see, I have some old drywall mud and thin set dried up on my wooden subfloor from previous projects. So I'm gonna have to go ahead and get rid of that beforehand, because if I was to just lay my LVP on top of that, it will make the floor all wavy and bumpy, and you can feel that when you walk on the floor. So one of the main things whenever you're prepping a subfloor, you wanna make sure that the floor is flat and clean and ready to accept new flooring. First, I will scrape up any easily removable debris left over on the floor from previous projects using either a floor scraper or a flat taping knife. If you demoed an old tile floor and have thin set dried on your subfloor, you will need to use a floor grinder with a diamond cup wheel to remove the dried up thin set. Next, check for any high or low spots. Be sure to refer to the manufacturer of the flooring you're installing for their specific requirements. Ours requires no more than 1/8 inch high or low over 6 feet. Any areas in excess of this will need to be filled with an appropriate leveler or sanded down. So now that my floor is all prepped, it's nice and flat, I've sanded down any high spots and I filled any low spots and my leveler is dry, the next thing to do is just go around and vacuum really quick, make sure you're picking up any fine dust, and then following with that, you're gonna wanna go ahead and wipe it down with a damp sponge to get any loose dust that the vacuum might not pick up. You can do these two steps also if you have a finished floor already, such as tile, just to make sure you're not leaving any dirt behind before going ahead and installing the underlayment and then your finished flooring. So I'm going to be installing an underlayment with my LVP flooring. This is not a required step, however, there are a few benefits that will add to your flooring if you install an underlayment, such as the underlayment will help support the floor's locking system. It helps to keep the planks in place and stops them from sliding around. It will smooth out any minor imperfections in your subfloor, which is great if you're installing over tile. Another benefit is that it will reduce walking noise when you're in the room, and also if you're installing on a second story, it will reduce the noise from coming down from the floor above. Once your floor is clean and dry, you can start laying the underlayment in one corner. Install the first row with the moisture barrier facing upwards, cutting as needed using a utility knife and a straight edge. Align the second row of underlayment with the first row, ensuring there are no gaps or overlapping seams. Secure all underlayment seams with an underlayment tape. To get started on laying your first row, begin by adding spacers with blue painter's tape along all of your walls for expansion of at least 1/4 inch. Then you can go ahead and add your first row of planks against the spacers. To cut your planks, you can score and snap them using a utility knife and a straight edge, a table saw for longer rip cuts, and a jigsaw for intricate cuts around angles and other protrusions in your room. So since the manufacturer of the planks I'm installing here require a minimum of an 8-inch cut at the beginning and the end of each row, to start out with the first row and make it simple, I'm going to install a full piece for my first piece, and then I'll have a cut at the end. So all I did to figure that out was I pulled the length of my room, which was 86 inches, and my first plank is 60 inches as a full plank, and then my second plank is about a 26-inch cut, so we meet the requirements. Attach the ends of the first plank and the second plank by lifting the second plank and inserting the tongue on the short side into the groove of the first plank and lowering it into place. Line up the edges and corners carefully. Moving on to the second row of planks, you want to just make sure you're installing using a random pattern where the joints are staggered at least 10 inches apart. So, to get my necessary stagger, I will start the second row with the remaining cut from the first row and continue this way, making sure no end cuts are less than 8 inches. If they are, I will create a new cut larger than 8 inches to begin that row and start the process again. To attach the second row, tilt the plank you're installing slightly upward, insert its tongue into the previous row's groove and lower it into place. The plank should click into place with light pressure. Install the second plank in the second row by inserting the short end tongue into the previously installed plank's groove. Align the plank so that the long side tongue tip is positioned just over the groove lip of the plank in the first row. Working from the end seam at a low angle, insert the long tongue into the groove of the adjoining plank. Very little force is required to fit the tongue into the groove. You should be able to feel the tongue lock into the groove. Continue locking each piece into place, short side first, then long side. Once you have your first couple of rows done, you will just repeat the process for the remainder of your floor, ensuring not to end up with end pieces less than 8 inches, and joints between planks are a minimum of 10 inches apart. If you have to cut around doorways with casing, the proper way to handle this is to undercut the door jamb to allow the flooring to slide underneath for a clean finished look. You can do this by taking a scrap piece of your flooring and placing it flush against your trim. Using a multi-tool or a jam saw, you can then cut your door casing to the height of the flooring to allow the trim to slide underneath. You may also have to install a transition piece, which allows for a seamless look between your luxury vinyl plank flooring and any other flooring outside of the room that you're completing your installation to. They make various types of transition pieces and most snap into place or are glued in using construction adhesive. So now that all your planks are down, the next thing to do is to go around the room and remove all of your spacers. Then once you're done with that, you can go back and install your trim. So depending on if you removed your baseboard trim, you would just install your baseboard right on top of the flooring to cover up the expansion gap, or you're just going to go ahead and add a 1/4 round piece of trim to the existing molding that's there to cover up your expansion gap. All right, everyone, so there you have it. For this video, we went over how to install luxury vinyl plank. I hope this video helps you on your next flooring project. Stay tuned for more videos, and we'll see you on the next one.